Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So, today we've got an exciting one, the future of the in-game factions. What's more though, is that I feel we're also getting an extremely important Elune reveal, one that certainly does recontextualize much of what we've seen Tyrande go through during BFA, especially as we've even seen Blizzard have her mirror Sylvanas' justifications initially thought so mysterious that she must have locked them behind Dashlane, today's sponsor. Dashlane are my password manager of choice, both personally and for my business. If you'd like to join me, you can get 10% off with my code. Frankly, everyone needs a password manager, plus Dashlane does so much more. So, why Dashlane? Well, easy. Security and convenience. Dashlane creates and stores a unique, high-security password for every website that you use. These passwords are as strong as can be, and since you'll have a different password for every website, you won't be breached. Now, Dashlane then, through its extensions, will autofill your information, and yes, that literally means that implementing best security practices is the most convenient option, which really is fantastic. And this even works for credit cards. Dashlane also has dark web monitoring, a VPN, and will alert you if a website that you use has had a data breach. You might be thinking, what if Dashlane got hacked? Well, that actually wouldn't matter. All of your information is locally decrypted using your master password. So for a hacker, it would be like breaking into the bank, but finding out that even the bank doesn't have the keys. Yeah, you get all that in one app, and if you follow my link at dashlane.com/Bellular, you will get Dashlane for free on your first device. You can then use promo code Bellular and get 10% off to have Dashlane everywhere. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the content. So first we're going to tackle the future of the Horde, who, after patch 8.2.5, have been left without a War Chief. Of course, with the goal being peace, War Chief is quite an aggressive title, especially because it's rooted in the old Horde of the past, the one that Saurfang himself came out so strongly against just before his death. So, a group of leaders, Thrall, Rolkan, Lor'themar, Bane, and Thalyssra, all meet. Bane speaks of the War Chief legacy ending, noting that the role just doesn't make sense during peacetime, and that the most recent war nearly cost their faction everything. This is after Lor'themar confirms that the Alliance have agreed to an armistice, marking the formal end of the Fourth War. And you really do get a sense here that the characters involved, they want nothing more than peace. So, it is Thrall who then comes up with the idea of a council, saying that they should come together, that is what makes them strong, and that they should build their new future together. And with all of this, there will just be no need for a war chief. Instead, the Horde will be ruled by a council of faction leaders. Rolkan then formally takes on leadership of the Darkspear Trolls, noting that he doesn't seek power, but that his people have looked to him, and that if it has to be like that, then, well, so it will be, and he will lead. So, that's a council of Thrall, Bane, Rolkan, Lor'themar, Thalyssra, Geira, Myla, and Gazlo, who now leads the Goblins, and Gallywix is absent, with the Forsaken, of course, not having a leader currently. Geira may seem a little bit off, but you've got to remember that amnesty has been offered, and that she did eventually come out strongly against Sylvanas once she realized that Sylvanas was just using her people to her own end. As for Gazlo, well, I think he works because he's a more notable character from the past who people generally trust, and frankly, I don't think there are that many other goblins that would fit the build that Blizzard actually have access to. As for Gallywix, well, he has fled the city along with the rest of Sylvanas' inner circle, and I've got to imagine Blizz will do more here. I mean, they did say that the cannon in Ashara would fire during BFA, and if that is the case, I've got to wonder if we're going to be poised for an incredibly dramatic patch 8.3.5. And that's actually far from all, because we do have some interpersonal developments. With the formal business done with, Thalyssra asks Lor'themar on a date, and he sort of offers that, he's got to go back home and do ruling, but nah, she just makes it too easy, she's got a teleporting guy, so it very much seems like Lor'themar and Thalyssra are going to end up dating, and certainly in patch 8.3, it seems like quite a lot of people are dating, but we'll get onto that later. First, I think we should keep the lore going. So, Lillian Voss, who players will know from her Cataclysm questline, that was the questline that was the introductory one for the Forsaken, and of course from Legion, says that she does not want to serve serve as the Forsaken leader. Now, this makes a lot of sense. I think that her involvement in this story is more down to her pretty much being one of the last notable Forsaken characters that most of the player base is aware of. After all, Sylvanas and Nathanos are, well, gone. Now, during Battle for Azeroth, Voss is a bit odd. She initially joins up with the Horde thinking that she can help Sylvanas' new undead, and that of course she's very angry at the humans. Now, she was aware of Sylvanas' nature though, and she did turn on Sylvanas when it came to her working out that Sylvanas was going to be denying Derek Proudmoore of his free will. So, fast forward, she joins up with the rebels. Now, she's a notable character, but not really a natural leader, and it's not even what she seeks in life. Now, when talking to Geira, she reveals that she actually does believe that somebody else is worthy, and this is clearly Kalia Menethil, as we then find out that word has been sent to Kalia and Derek, who then go to inform Jaina of their plan. Kalia is already down with the idea of leading Forsaken, noting that technically she's the ruler of Lordaeron, that her surname, after all, is Menethil. Now, as for Derek, well, he clearly is getting on well with Kalia, and he notes that he's changed forever, and really it seems like the Forsaken could be his people. So, they arrive and they meet with Voss, who actually apologizes for her part in creating Derek. Now, there's an interesting tidbit here. Undead Night Elves are present at the meeting, and this surprises Kalia. Now, Voss explains that many were risen who died at Teldrassil, and that they too have been abandoned. And on that abandonment, more later, because you'll actually see that Tyrande pretty much agrees. So, Kalia and Derek agree to help the Forsaken, and while neither leave the meeting being crowned, Lillian is happy with her progress. She originally said that she knew it would take time for their new leader, so I've got to imagine that this is maybe going to come as a part of 8.3's epilogue. Indeed, I think it's clear that Kalia is going to be the new leader, and then as for those Undead Night Elves, well, they will seemingly be living under the Forsaken banner. Now, I think that Blizzard might actually use this to add them as a new allied race, maybe with Dalaran as their faction leader, or they could go in a different, a different direction. They could just add them as a customization option for the Forsaken. Now, on that note, neither Dalaran or Syra have been heard of since 8.1. Dalaran may return as a friendly character. She may actually serve Sylvanas, though. I suspect we're going to find out later in that one. So these are no doubt major developments, but what I think really matters is what we see within the Alliance. So, remember that video that I did about Tyrande like a week ago? Okay, well, it seems like that video has ended up being on the money, with patch 8.3's data mine conversations further advancing that plotline. So, when informed of the armistice, Tyrande just says no to Anduin. She says she will not rest until the Horde has answered for what they did to her people. Simple as that. Anduin tries to tell her that further bloodshed won't bring her people back, but she pushes back against him, asking what will happen when the next war chief raises an army. Now, you'll see in the second part of my Sylvanas deep dive series that this is a direct callback to A Good War, one of the novellas. Tyrande is trying to convince Anduin to war using the exact same logic that Sylvanas used to convince Saurfang to war. Now, Anduin responds by informing her of the Horde's new leadership arrangement, how they no longer have a war chief, but Tyrande cuts him off. She says that he is naive, calling him Lion Son, and yeah, that means that by this stage, she's so pissed off at him that she'll only refer to him through his relation to a man that she respected, and that's clearly her telling Anduin that she doesn't think he measures up to his father's legacy. She says that the only treaty she'll accept is one written in Sylvanas' blood, and well, that's it. She seemingly storms off. Now, to further prove Sylvanas' logic in A Good War, when Anduin tries to scold her in this, Gen jumps in. He says that there's truth in her words, that peace is on the table today, but that soon the Horde will march for war, and that no peace treaty will call them back. Hell, he even calls it a piece of paper, and that just shows how little weight he puts in it. Anduin says that the path to peace is not easy, but that he does believe in it. And again here, we see parallels with A Good War. There's a bit of Sylvanas was right here. Sylvanas convinced Saurfang to start the war partially based off the aggression of Gen, that Anduin would feel like he would have to prove himself to the Alliance, and that Gen would always be pushing him towards war. And what do we see here? That Sylvanas was right. Don't worry though, there's actually more to it than that. So, Chandris tries to calm Tyrande down and to impress upon her the importance of their place within the Alliance, only for Tyrande to reject it, calling Anduin a fool and saying that her harsh words should be the least of his fears. Now, Chandris responds, saying that Sylvanas doesn't lead the Horde anymore, only for Tyrande to reject her logic, saying that the beast is rabid and that it does not matter who rides it. And you can see her sense here. Tyrande is rejecting the defense of the Horde population that pretty much lies at the heart of this new piece. This is her saying that the "oh, I was just following orders" excuse is not a valid one, and that they should face justice, i.e. her vengeance. Chandris then says something extremely interesting for the lore. "You are the dearest to my heart, Tyrande. I beg you, let go of the Black Moon's rage and embrace the Mother's light once again. I could not bear to lose you to darkness." Now this is interesting, because we had previously been told that the Night Warrior persona was an avatar of Elune's vengeance, yet here we see Chandris treat the aspects of Elune, well, A, critically, and B, and very importantly, separately. Now, the most simple read that I can come up with here is that we're dealing with something similar to the Christian Holy Trinity concept, where there is one God, but three, distinct persons. Now, in this case, it's two persons. Seemingly here, we have the Mother and the Black Moon. At least that's what Chandris says. Now, this might even show a bit of balance and criticism within the Night Elf religion, showing that they understand that there's a dark side of light. Now, this appears to be something that the Naru-led religion of the light is completely lacking, with the likes of Yrel falling to extremism. Now, Tyrande goes on to say that her hunger for vengeance will not be sated until Sylvanas is dead, and until she knows why Elune abandoned her children. Now, Chandris is taken aback by this, but Tyrande just presses on, saying that she's going to spend no more time in the City of Men, and that she's going to leave for Nordrassil, from where she will send out sentinels across Azeroth to hunt Sylvanas. So this basically means that at this stage, both the Sentinels and the Farstriders are hunting Sylvanas down. Now, reading into this conversation really is fascinating. We've got these two personas of Elune, or maybe that Elune and the Black Moon are actually separate. One of them, though, is not held in high regard by Chandris, and that is a Night Elf who we should remember is A, Sentinel, and B, is thousands of years old, and likely very wise and clued into these things. Indeed, if you think back to the Elune coverage that I've done before, well, that's often led me to think of, say, the Naru with their light and their void phases, and there's been speculation that the Void Lords have a light phase and a void phase, and if you look at how Chronicle describes light and void, there's maybe the case that they are like sides of the same coin. There's been rumors that Elune has been a Light Lord or a Rebel Void Lord, and obviously we're seeing Blizzard add a little bit more evidence to that pile, a little bit more for us to speculate with. So, Tyrande here says that Elune has abandoned her children. Now, in the novel Elegy, Dalaran, while dying, wonders why Elune had abandoned them. When she is raised in 8.1, she again comments that Elune had abandoned her. Now, here's the line from Lillian Voss from earlier. "Many fell at Teldrassil, some were raised into rage and darkness, turned against their own people, they too have been abandoned." So it's pretty darn clear here. We have Night Elves on all sides speaking about how Elune abandoned them. Now, when you look into a good war, Elune seems to stay Saurfang's blade, but doesn't do too much more past that. And it's just a bit mysterious, so there's likely a lot more research to do here, especially as we get more 8.3 reveals over time. But for now, I'll just say this. We should all be a bit spooked about Elune. So to wrap up the factions, Blizzard's story is clearly one of a Horde dictator leading a war against a unified enemy who were effective. But then free from that dictator, the Horde are now a unified council, with instead the Alliance being set up to have their honorable ruler be undermined by his vengeful subordinates. They very much are different twists on the pitfalls of having a single leader for your faction, that much I think is for sure. Now, I doubt that the Alliance and Horde will fight during patch 8.3, but I really do expect that Tyrande will try to sabotage peace efforts in her campaign for vengeance, and that, plus the exploration of Elune, well, that'll all be a major part of the game's future story as we move into 9.0 and maybe 10.0. Being realistic with you, I don't think they're going to go straight back into an Alliance-Horde war in 9.0, even if it is led by Tyrande, because, frankly, it would be a bit repetitious, and I don't think people would be too down for it. Anyway, there you go. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you think is going to go down with the factions, and more importantly, what do you think's up with this Elune speculation? Because, I mean, I really was surprised that Blizzard threw just a bit more of a curveball in for Elune. I didn't expect that to happen. So, let me know. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you would like to up your security game, dashlane.com/Bellular, and if you'd like to properly jump in, promo code Bellular. They're really good. I reached out to them. I've rolled them out across my business, and I use them personally. So, yeah, that's how that is. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.